struggle. It is curious that liberals fawn over the violence deployed by the Ukrainians, but sharply condemn the Palestinian resistance. It is even more curious when you understand that the Palestinians are a colonized people, subject to military occupation, apartheid, and an ongoing genocide at the hands of the Zionist entity. And it is especially peculiar given the fact that Ukraine has formally incorporated a Nazi paramilitary organization, the Azov Battalion, into their National Guard following the 2014 Maidan coup. They have banned left-wing opposition, and they've opened up their country to exploitation of private capital. Is their position to support armed struggle only when it is white? As Bill James says, people have a right to sanctuary. This implies that people have a right to resist annihilation by any means necessary. Palestinians have attempted to resist by peaceful means, but when they fight for the international campaign for boycott, divestment, and sanctions against Israel, they get smeared as anti-Semites. When they march peacefully, as in the 2018 Great March of Return, they get shot, maimed, and killed by Zionist forces. When Palestinians fight for their rights in international human rights venues like the United Nations, Israel and the U.S. empire ignore international law. On college campuses, including this one, peaceful resistance is met through doxing, harassment, and intimidation campaigns which endanger Palestinian life. What is there left to do but to take up arms? Over the decades, Jewish people like myself have grown increasingly disillusioned by the Zionist project. This translates not mere frustration that all of our cultural spaces are dominated by Zionist hegemony, but more importantly, growing fury in regards to the treatment of indigenous Palestinians by our own people throughout the whole history of Zionist colonialism in Palestine. We don't want to take part in a genocidal settler colonial project. We want to dismantle it brick by brick. And if we demand land back in Turtle Island, then we need to fight for land back in Palestine. We must fight for the one-state solution, which is nothing more than the full decolonization of Palestine and the dismantling of all vestiges of colonial rule. This requires granting the full right of return to Palestinians, reparations on a massive scale, and the like. The two-state solution is a non-starter. It maintains settler colonialism in historic Palestine. As principled anti-Zionists, we reject firmly the two-state solution in favor of a single Palestinian state and grant equal rights to all of its citizens. The resistance in Palestine is fighting for national liberation from a settler colonial apartheid regime, a regime which is committing an ongoing genocide against the Palestinian people. For the past 11 days, so-called Israel has suffocated Gaza under a genocidal blockade that prevents food, water, electricity, and fuel from getting into a region that the UN already declared unlivable. Gaza was already an open-air prison, but under heavy bombardment from Israeli forces that target civilians, homes, and hospitals, and under a genocidal blockade that is forcing Palestinians into starvation, it is no exaggeration to call Gaza a concentration camp. And as someone whose family members were thrown into concentration camps by the Nazis, I do not use that term lightly. As anti-Zionist Jews, we have a responsibility to oppose and undo the fascism. We have a responsibility to oppose and undo the fascism in our communities. What might a militant Jewish anti-Zionism look like? What kinds of militant actions can we take as Jews to join arms with our Palestinian comrades and support their struggle for freedom? This is a call for principled anti-Zionist Jews to get involved in Students for Justice in Palestine, to fight for Palestinian liberation, and against all anti-Palestinian, anti-Arab racism at Stanford, perpetuated by members of our own community. We will release a statement condemning the horrific harassment Arab students have faced in coming days. The Palestinian people have a right to resist genocide and colonialism and apartheid. I say this without flinching and without qualification. When Palestinians broke out of the open-air prison that is Gaza, we saw stunning pictures of the Palestinian chapter demolishing the apartheid border. This brings to mind the language of the UN Declaration on the Granting of Independence to Colonial Countries and Peoples, which is a stunning document produced by anti-colonial struggles. I quote, "The process of liberation is irresistible and irreversible." I'll leave you with one final quote from Palestinian Marxist-Leninist revolutionary Hassan Kanafani. You might have heard from the imperialist propaganda system that the Palestinian people are currently exhausted, that they have given up the struggle, and that they are defeated by the reactionary Israel. Comrades, do not believe them. There is no end to our struggle. Long live the Palestinian struggle for liberation. We support one solution: Intifada Revolution.
Free Palestine!